Welcome, welcome. Yay. Boom, chicka, wow, wow. Welcome to the show. Another episode of My Orgasmic Life, sponsored and brought to you by Tickle.life. I'm your hostess, Gaia Morrissette. If you don't know who I am, I'm a holistic sexual wellness specialist, a BDSM wellness specialist, a trauma recovery expert, as well as a pro dominatrix and a high priestess. So today's show is Tuesday after Valentine's Day, okay? So we're going to drop into Valentine's Day. We're going to have some honest conversations about what happened on Valentine's Day and over the Valentine weekend and, you know, the horror. How do we deal with the drama that happened over Valentine's? All right. So here we go. So often, what happens is there's this lead up, there's this expectation within relationships that on Valentine's Day, this is supposed to be an explosion of showing the people in your life, the person, depending on what kind of relationship style you have, either the person that you're in love with or the people that you're in love with, how important they are to you. But it's supposed to be on these big romantic gestures. And so there's this ideology that we're supposed to, like, you know, we have cards and flowers and romance, and this is supposed to be the thing that happens. Now, for most relationships that don't have a really good, healthy, fully expressive love experience throughout the year, Valentine's Day is like, there's a lot of pressure, huge amounts of pressure. And so what ends up happening, and everybody who's following me and watching me live, thanks for the loves and the thumbs up. I love you all. Mwah. All right, so where was I? Oh, the pressure. Oh my God, the pressure. And so you create what this means. So if your partner doesn't meet this big romantic gesture, whatever that might be, because for the most part, you probably haven't talked about what those romantic gestures are and what is it that makes you feel loved. It's all about this whole idea of, like, what makes me feel loved, that you're taking the time to express how you love me by doing this big thing, instead of looking at it as, okay, well, what if I showed you how much I loved you every day in many different ways, not just by buying flowers or taking you out for dinner, but also by saying, I appreciate you every day. I love you. I admire you. How can I support the person that you are? You know, going out of your way to do things that are uncomfortable and may not be the thing that is really your thing, but, you know, in a way to show that your partner, that you love them. There's different kinds of love languages, and I think this is a really important. There's different kinds of love languages, and I'm gonna, in the show notes, I'm gonna actually put some links to, like, so you can really start to understand if you've never heard of love languages, that these love languages are key ingredients to showing and experiencing and receiving love. And when you're on the same page, and you're on the same page all year round, not just one day of the year, but all year round, that day, this Valentine's Day, just becomes this really great space to be like, hey, let's just celebrate us. Let's celebrate our interactions. Let's celebrate how important you are to one another. And again, it's really interesting that from a societal standpoint, there's this, you know, and I try to use non-binary language, but in this case, I'm going to use binary language because this is a very much binary, not a binary issue, but a gender issue of behavior. Okay, so of what we've been taught. So often, not all, but often, women have this expectation that it's the male's role, if you're in a relationship with a male, that it is their responsibility to make you feel loved. It is their responsibility to take you out, to wine and dine you, to make you feel special. And that if they fail, if they don't do this for you, that you have a right to be angry about it. And I'm going to call you out on that, because if you're in a relationship with somebody, it's everybody's role to make sure that everybody feels special and everybody feel loved, right? It's not one person's responsibility, whether that's the male in the role, the female in the role, the the non-binary in the role, whoever you're in a relationship, it's everybody. Everybody that's in those relationships, whether it's two or more, everybody is responsible for showing and expressing, giving and receiving love. And when we set up this dynamic that there's an expectation that somebody, that's their job and that they have to do that, and I just get to receive it. And then when they fail, because they will fail, they'll always fail, because there's nothing that they can do. There's nothing, no matter how well they planned it, no matter what they did, isn't going to be good enough for you. Because deep down inside, there's a bigger issue here around what it means to be feeling loved. How you aren't getting your needs met throughout the year because you aren't communicating and asking for what love really is. And understanding what your love languages are. And there's 5 healthy love languages, and there's a bunch of unhealthy love languages. Right? Like stalking is an unhealthy love language. That's a conversation for another show, all right? But I really want everybody to take a moment and let's evaluate, how did you move into Valentine's Day? Did you feel like you had to have a date? If you were single, did you feel a lot of expectations and a lot of pressure that you were a loser because you weren't in a relationship? Like, what came up for you if you were single? If you were in a relationship leading up to Valentine's Day, how much anxiety and pressure happened? When you had Valentine's Day, how much a disappointment and anger happened? And now that we are, after the Valentine's weekend and we're sitting in, a couple days after the fact, are you still angry? Are you still hurt? Are you still frustrated? Are you still annoyed that everything that you did wasn't good enough, no matter which role you were playing in this little dance? And if the answer to those is that it was, other than just looking at, oh, here's a great day for me to celebrate our relationship, and however we decide that's going to best celebrate that relationship, that's what it's all about, and that's all that it's about. If that wasn't a beautiful thing for you, there's some other shit in your relationships that you need to look at. And I lovingly invite you to come hang out with me. And just because I know there's so much shit around this conversation about Valentine's Day and how many people are not talking to each other because it went horribly wrong because of expectations and all sorts of shit, for the next week, let's do it till the end of the month. To the end of February, I'm offering a couples work with me special. All right, so you got a post-Valentine's crisis special going on, all right? So you can reach out to me, and you can find me at succulentliving.com. All right, let's come back for a second here. The last thing I want to say about this is, what if we really chose to share how and express how we love people, unconditionally love? Like, there's a difference between I love you when, I love you because, and I love you if. All right, so that's, if you've spent any time with me, you've heard me talk about the difference between conditional love and unconditional love. And romantic love, what Hollywood romantic love, by the way, is not unconditional love. It is completely based on conditions. It is completely, I love you if, I love you because, and I love you when. All right, so let's get rid of that stuff, because that doesn't serve anybody. So what if, this is what I want you to lean into, what if you could love people unconditionally. And loving somebody unconditionally was to actually show them the way that they receive love in their way. So here's a great example. So my partner, well, one of my partners, because I live an ethical, non-monogamous lifestyle. So one of my partners in particular, one of the ways that I share that I love him is I do his dishes. And he knows, because he really appreciates me doing these dishes. And it's like acts of service is one of those love languages I was talking about, right? So there's like acts of service, gifts, time spent, words of affirmation. And I always forget the fifth one. I'll look it up and put it in our show notes. Right? And so for him, me actually doing an act of service, which is doing the dishes, makes him know that I like totally am in love with him. So every time I do these dishes, he's like, wow, she so loves me. Because I fucking hate dishes. I like doing dishes. I hate dishes. So if I'm doing his dishes, it's because it's one of the ways in which he really registers that I love him. One of the things that my love language, the other one is touch. I forgot that one. One of the ways in which I receive love is words of affirmation. I love words. I love words that, talk sweet to me, talk dirty to me, just talk to me. Right. So when he shares that, when he says to me, I love you, which he's not comfortable saying. So really it's not a comfortable thing for him, but he knows how much I appreciate that. So when he is like, wants to share with me how important I am to him, he'll say, I love you. Or he'll come up to me and he did this over the weekend, and he came up to me and out of nowhere and just like grabbed my face, and then he looked me in the eyes and he kissed me and he says, I really enjoy you. I love spending time with you. And I love our great sex that we have. And then kissed me and then went away. That moment, because that's not his nature, like for me to do that, it's no big deal because I'm very much giving in that department. But for him to actually come out of his shell and to come and do that, to have that little moment with me, was like this huge expression of how important and how much he loves me. And those moments are what make, throughout your year of what it makes so that you feel loved, so that you express how important other people are to you. And not just romantic love, but in all capacities. Another very, very cute thing that, I had a partner do for me is that he used to create, and this is not his nature, okay? His nature is not wild and crazy and silly, okay? So this is another partner. And so this partner, I was having some cramping and I was having some issues in my digestion, and I was having some, here's a non-sexy, I was having some irritable bowel issues. Like I was having a rough time on the toilet, okay? And he created this little poop song. And so he would sing this poop song, and he had little dance moves that went into this little poop song. And that poop song made me laugh, and it made me smile, and it made me, relax so that I could, release and all of these things. Now, that's a moment that I cherish when I think of, wow, he really loved me because he created a poop song so that I can have a good poop. And so these are the things that I want you to look at, so if you're in this, like, oh my God, it was awful, and I failed, and my partner is so mad at me because I didn't do the right thing, And, and if you're the partner that's really angry because, he or she never shows me, and this was the one day and I didn't get, they didn't even make an effort, or whatever it is that you're feeling. Both of you are feeling this place because there's a lot of pressure and expectations, which means that you need to lean in to what's going on in your relationship that you don't feel special, you don't feel loved, you don't feel these experiences on a daily basis. And let's sort it out. Let's fix it. Let's clear it out. Because when you feel loved, and you express unconditional love, it doesn't have to happen once a year. It can happen any time of the year and all of the time. All right, now, the last thing before we end our show today is I want to just talk about the piece of, if you don't love yourself, unconditionally love and accept yourself, that you can look in the mirror and you're like, yeah, I totally like hanging out with you. You are fantastic. I so love you. If you can't do that, which most of us can't, by the way, right? That takes work, and we haven't been taught how to do that. That's a huge piece of the puzzle of how, no matter what somebody does, no matter how they express it, no matter how you ask for them to express it, it will never be good enough, because there's this in your heart, right here, in this part of your heart, there's this empty void. And this empty void is like a vortex that's soul sucking everybody else. And then they can't love you enough. They can't worship you enough. They can't give to you enough, because it will never be filled by another. And there is no perfect partner that can fill this for you. The only person that can fill that emptiness, that feeling of loneliness, that feeling of despair, that feeling of I am unworthy, only person that can heal that, the only person that can fill that is you. People around you can love you and support you and, show you how spectacular and how worthy of love you are, but you have to heal the pieces that resists that love. And when we don't love ourselves, what happens is that everybody who loves us, we go like this, pew, 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 all right? We push it away. We don't allow ourselves to really receive it, because we're not capable of receiving it, because we don't believe we're worthy of receiving it. And when we move from that place, like I said, Valentine's Day is going to be a horrible epic fail. And no one is going to be able to love you right. And no one is going to be able to fill that for you. So you got to heal that. All right? That's the piece. That when we heal that, then we can allow the people that love us to really receive the way that they love us. And we don't feel like our cup is half empty all the time. Right? We can give ourselves. So one of the things that I did for Valentine's Day, by the way, this is how I just chose to spend that particular day, is I spent the day in taking myself out and spending time with me and loving me. Of course, getting myself off a bunch of times. Self-love all the way around. I got myself some yummy food, and I made myself some yummy food, and I found, I was watching some of my favorite TV shows, and I gave myself this beautiful day of doing nothing. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to do nothing. I didn't want to spend time with anybody. I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to have to engage with anybody, because I spend a lot of time out in the world. And I took myself on this hot, sexy, sensual day of doing everything that I wanted for me. And because I did that, I then went and spent time with, one of my partners, and I spent this great weekend and engaging and interacting and loving and celebrating our relationship and all the fucking fantastic things about our relationship, and laughing and talking and fucking and watching awesome TV and talking philosophy and all these amazing things that are part of why I very much, love spending time with him. And we got to spend this really amazing time together. But that's only because I gave and I fed to myself first so that I could actually receive that. And then I could also not just receive it, but it's also about giving it. And that's the last thing I want to leave you with, is that when it comes to love, unconditional love, remember, the difference is conditional love is I love you when, I love you because, and I love you if. Unconditional love is I just love you, man. Because you're awesome. The end. All right? When you move from that place of unconditional love, do you allow, how often are you in that place, first of all? That's what I want to leave. How often are you in that place? And when you are in that place, do you give as much as you receive? And if you're in relationships that aren't balanced, where one person is giving a lot and the other person is only taking and receiving, and the person who's receiving never gives, and the other person that gives never receives, then you have some bigger problems. And I recommend coming hang out so we can fix it. All right, so that's their show about our, hangover from hell after Valentine's Day. I love you all. You're all incredible. Thank you for everybody who is with me live right now, and thank you for all of the audience who are listening to me later. To get more of me, to spend more time with me, you can find me at succulentliving.com for all of your sexual wellness needs. For all of your BDSM needs and education, you can find me at empressgaia.com. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, listen to the podcast, this podcast, My Orgasmic Life. I also now have an app that you can download for your phone from Google Playlist, My Orgasmic Life, so you never miss me. I'm always with you wherever you are. And again, as a reminder, this was this episode was sponsored by ticklelife, which is an incredible hub of sexual collaborators and all things that you want to learn, sexual education and wellness. So check it out, tickle.life. All right. Oh, social media, you can follow me under Gaia Morrissette or Empress Gaia or both. And I think that's it. That's all for tonight, or for today. Mwah. And remember, the rest of February, I'm doing a special for couples coaching. Love you. Bye-bye.